Unfortunately, I cannot go inside, so I'm gonna share this with you. So you won't be able to see from inside, which I think, in my opinion, is a mistake. So I'm just gonna do this one, and I'm gonna walk all the way to the other side. So basically, what this is all about, this is the whole memorial that was built right here in memory of, you're seeing a lot of people coming over to visit the museum. And so the city of Nanjin, it's all the way downtown over there. So I'm gonna take you over there. I'll cross the street while I talk to you about the museum and some of its history. So it is my belief that a lot of people do not know exactly what took place here, especially between 1937 and 1945 rather. Except that it was even longer than that. It goes way back to almost 1929 or 31, somewhere around that time. I couldn't remember the exact one. Suffice it to say is that the 14-year presence of the Japanese on American soil, on the Chinese soil, is kind of really left a mark. And this memorial here, that's the one that exhibits this. As I said, unfortunately, they don't allow cameras inside. They just, I don't understand. But again, I respect their laws and their restrictions. Of course, inside the museum, you won't be able to. I want to show you some here. Inside the museum, you won't be able to use a video or whatever because it's too dark, and it won't be the right thing to do. Why? Because of the. I'm going out. I'm going out. I'm not staying here. I'm going out. I'm not staying here. So it's I don't know what there seems to be very issues about. They don't want cameras here. I don't know. I respect, and I'm just leaving on the other side of. So this is Nanjin. It's a very busy city. I came here just for one day. I was hoping I will get inside at least the front hall of the museum, but apparently you can't do that. So, and again, I don't know why, but again, it's their decision, not mine, so I respect that one. So that's why I decided to leave, even though I took all the way to come down here. But again, I promised you I will do something for the community, and this is exactly what I wanted to do. So that gives me an idea to share with you some insights about the city of Nanjin. Now, to those who do not know, when you think about how Nanjin was established, now Nanjin used to be, a lot of people do not know, that Nanjin used to be the capital of China at some time in its history. So before he moved into Beijing. So, and I'm just crossing the street. I'm gonna go to the other side. You can see the, I'm not gonna show the memorial from here because they don't like that. So even though I'm far away, I'm still gonna respect that choice. So maybe when I come back, I'll get some pictures for you so you guys can see what this is all about. So I'm gonna just walk through town here, share a few things with you, and answer if there's any question you may have. By the way, I will also, one of you asked me to address the issue of Charlie Kirk, who was gone down 2 days ago. So I don't know what I need to say about that. It's kind of, to me, both political parties are two faces of the same coin. So there's nothing different there. So, but we'll address some of it. So suffice it to say that for those who might not know about the history of Nanjin as a city, so when you think about Nanjin, like to those who are familiar with geography of China, is the capital of Jiangsu. I hope I pronounced it correctly. for my Chinese speakers. So, which is a province in the east of China. So approximately it was an hour from Shanghai by speed train. So the city, which, as I said, is located rather in the southwestern corner of the province, you know. And Nanjin, it's not a small. It has like almost, I think, 10 or 11 districts. So that just tells you the size of it. And its population, it's almost now about 9.6 or 9.7, give or take, million. So it's not a small city. So that is, which is, by the way, if you are ever visiting Nanjing, you will notice the Yangtze River. Well, Yangtze River, I remember when I was studying geography, we will talk about Yangtze River. So, and this is where Nanjing has a prominent, some sort of a place in the history of China. That's why not only history, but also its culture, because it served as a center. Remember, it used to be the capital for the Republic of China at the time. And not only in that, it served in certain way some sort of various dynasties that went through the Chinese history. So this is how old the city is. So just to highlight to you this one here. So, and of course, all the way, this is dating back, based on what I read in some historical record, to the literally to the 3rd century, from all that time all the way to 1949. Well, of course, you all know what 1949 represents for China. So that's, of course, when the independence was. And that's why Nanjing is known for being a center of culture, a center of history and education and research and politics. So it played a prominent role. So, and that is one of the highlight about Nanjing. So the decision was about the memorial hall to be built here. Well, to understand that, you have to understand the history of the massacre, the Nanjing massacre that took place back then. So let me move out of the noise here a little bit. It's a very, very, very busy street. So I might cross the other side over there. So let me just cross over here. Thank you. They will stop for you here, so that's they respect pedestrians. So when you think about the history of Nanjing massacre, so of course you have to go back to December 1937 to be exact. However, there are some other historical records suggesting that the presence of the Japanese extended almost 14 years. That's how far back it goes. So, and that's when the Japanese army occupied Nanjing. Remember, back then it used to be spelled differently, Nanking. However, it changed the spelling. Of it later on, and this is just part of how the city has changed, given the history of what took place back then. So, it's very, very interesting to understand. This is, like I said, once again, it's the old town here. So that's where I'm walking. I'm gonna just be walking here while sharing this with you. So what was sad is it was just during the first 6 to 8 weeks of the Japanese occupation that took place at that time. So the Japanese army committed really horrendous atrocities. And I went inside the museum and I saw, it's a somber place, but it must be seen so people can understand the history of what really took place. For us in the US, majority do not know about Nanjing at all, and that's why I wanted to do this for the community, because you all know the channel is about information and about learning more so than anything else. And that's when the Japanese army committed, like, as I said, atrocities from rape and arson to looting and torture. And of course, it was even a mass execution that took place. I even read somewhere where the Japanese army had to have competition as far as the execution, which is, you know, of course, it is estimated that about 300,000 people perished here. It was a big number in the museum. For those who might ever, if you ever visit Nanjin and go to the museum, you'll see once you step up, you'll see the number 300,000 civilians that were, and unarmed soldiers that were killed. Or I'm not even using the term killed. They were brutally slaughtered. That's how horrendous the what took place in Nanjing. So, and that's why the Chinese government estimated about 300,000 of those innocent civilians who died. So, and of course, there is also the records of the eyewitnesses of war crime tribunals, because remember, there were some representatives from the US. And here's one thing that I need you to know. The United States and China stood side by side during that time for the sake of humanity. And makes you just wonder now, why are we turning our back on the Chinese? Why are we treating them certain ways? That's what I don't understand. If we worked together to defeat the Japanese and fascism and end World War II, because China did play a major role into this, why didn't we keep that spirit of cooperation? And I don't know if anybody knows the answer. Please share it with the community. So, and as I said earlier, as horrendous as it was, the Japanese committed or conducted what was called a killing competition using bayonets. And this is some traditional food. Is that okay if I show this? Yeah, I said it's okay. So this is the traditional food here. I don't know what that is. He's making some sort of a hot pot. Yeah, right there, guys. Take a look. That's prepared right here, fresh. I think it's eggs, and they make some. And this one here, either soup and with pasta. That's what they use here. So. Sorry. Thank you. 谢谢. So this is like an old side of town where you can get some food. So to go back to what the Japanese did, they didn't even spare children, which I saw the pictures of some small children, some of them losing limbs. They didn't spare those, and that's what made all this horrendous. In addition to the cases of rape of 8-year-olds. I mean, it was horrendous to say the least. So, or elderly people for that matter. So, and that leads me to talk about why they decided to have the memorial hall. Why they call it? I'm gonna go this way here and come back on the left side. Why they decided to call it? I gotta cross into the cross lines. Yeah. It's very respectful here. It's out of okay. Let me cross here. So once again, more stands of food here, traditional Chinese food here. It's very, very nice. So I might try something later on. I have not been eating much. You walk around a lot. Look at this fresh. Right here, they're gonna be cooking this. One of them is cooked already. So, and look at the line. People waiting here for good food. So, it's cooked in front of you. So let's talk about the why the hall of the memorial hall rather in Nanjing was established to begin with. This is famous for dumpling, from what I was told. So they make the best dumplings here in town, I was told. So I'm not the one to judge this because I don't know. Does anybody know? What makes one dumpling better than other? Do you know? So, anyway, So Nanjin Memorial Hall was built in 1985. That's when it was built, and that was built by the local government. So, of course, it was built in a memory of the 300,000 victims of the massacre. And based again on what I read, I've been spending the last 2 days reading about all this to share it with you. That's why I made the trip all the way for one day. I'm returning back to Shanghai this afternoon. I just came for this because I gave you my word. So in 1995, it was enlarged and renovated. So they expanded it, and it's big. It's a large area, a very, very nice place to visit if you ever get a chance to visit Nanjing. So the memorial, for that matter, some sort of, and it exhibits the historical record. And with the facts, I was able to see some human bones, remains. They are covered, but they're allowing people to see that. So that's there were also some other uses of some tools, and that has been used during that time. In addition to sculpture, which was part of. I'm gonna move to this side here because there are cars moving and motorbikes, so I don't want to run into any problems. So. And that is what certain objects this illustrates really what took place during that time, that era in Nanjing history. And that's very, very important to understand how the history has evolved in this town here. So, and of course, it depicts and illustrates the massacre the Japanese have committed against the Chinese here in Nanjing. So that is very, very important to understand. Many historical items here in the museum were also, just FYI, based on what I read, were also donated. So, and this was donated, guess what? There was a friendship of some sort between the Japanese and the Chinese at some point. So, and those are what they call them here historically, because it's referenced in history as the friendship group. So, and this is very, very, it's hard to think that the Chinese will ever forget about what took place here. There is no way. They might forgive, but I don't think so. They're gonna, you can't. Atrocities of that magnitude, you can't forget it. Ask Vietnam. Can they ever forget what the U.S. did when they were in Vietnam? Ask Japan itself for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah, you might forgive, but would you ever forget? I don't think so. And that is, to me, what the lesson of all this is, to understand why it's important for you to have at least a better understanding of the history of the memorial hall and what it depicts as far as its the atrocities committed by Japan. That's why I made the trip, just for the community, because again, I gave you my word, I only follow through, and I decided to come here to see it. Will I come back? It's unlikely, but I do hope the museum authorities will understand that for someone like me to share this knowledge about the history of the massacre will be of great importance for people around the world. I understand their reservation and I respect it. But again, it is what it is. I was hoping to share with you the images from outside, not inside. But again, there is nothing I can do about that one. Life goes on. So, what was I going to say? So this is what I wanted to highlight in this particular live stream here, before I'll do one more live for you at night and head back home to the US soon. So my journey here in China is coming to a close, and I will hopefully be back here at some point. I have, just to keep you updated, on certain aspects regarding the education aspects. I've been in some talks with some individuals regarding universities here, and we're gonna figure out it's a process. I need you to understand here in China, it's a process. It takes time. So before you do all this, so but hopefully I will be back here at some point. So. Now, let me see first if there are any questions before I'll address briefly the Charlie Kirk incident that took place 2 days ago. So let me see if you have any question, just please share it with us, and I will, or just post it rather on the chat box, and I will answer it if I know the answer. So, if not, I'm gonna just keep going here. I'm stepping outside of the old part of town. If you notice, you don't see the small restaurants and all that. We're going into the other side of town. So, all right. Okay. I don't see any questions, so let's move on with what took place in with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So, well, as you know, if you know, he is a conservative in support of Donald Trump. But the point is not about that. The point is about is this a sign for what lies ahead regarding the division, the political one that exists in America? And to me, the answer is clear. I know there are those who say, "Oh, there will never be a civil war in America." I don't think so. It will be. It will be, given where the current conditions are politically and economically and socially we are heading towards. So, and I don't see any reason why not. So maybe the killing of Charlie might be just the beginning to something much bigger. So, and again, well, to those who say, well, because they don't like Republicans, well, the Democrats is no better. So, both of them, two sides of the same coin, like I always say. And this is, again, I've mentioned this before, and I'm gonna repeat it one more time. Most Americans do not know and understand that the system was set up that way for a reason. This is why the political course is controlled by those two parties. And don't assume that there are no deals made behind closed doors in Congress. That's usually how it works. So both Republicans and Democrats, they both on the same agenda per se. Who end up holding the end of the stick is us, American citizens, taxpayers. When I see, for example, the infrastructure here for where it is, and I see how much waste the government is wasting without anything to show for, it makes me angry. It really makes me angry. So I want to show you one side of town here. This is the high end in town, the high rising buildings. This one is a major boulevard. I don't know the name. I don't see the name here. It's written on the other side. I can't see it here. So let me cross quickly here. At least they give you enough time to cross. So this is, as I said, it's this is the main boulevard here in town, and extend all the way to the other side. So I think when you go through that area, you end up at the high-speed train station, which is a massive, like because it's like almost an airport. That's how many speed trains they have. And people move through trains here. They don't use the planes a lot. They move through. So that's just how they do. So to go back to my point about the waste that the U.S. government is wasting our tax dollars for no. If it would be nice if they could show or at least invest in infrastructure like here, like the high-speed rail, in technology, in other aspects on. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And I am sure you are aware of what just happened yesterday in Mexico. Does anybody know? So Mexico just decided now to increase or to impose rather tariffs on Chinese products. Yeah, Mexico. This is again when I tell you, you have to before you think that a country can move forward with China, China will have to think twice. I've been saying the same about India. They can assume that India is going to be sincere in its dealings with the Chinese. The Mexicans just decided to impose tariffs on Chinese products. Why? Because Marco Rubio went to Mexico, pressured Mexico, and all of a sudden they cave in. So why should China invest in those countries? You know, that's to me where the idea of you have to think about China has to stop playing nice. Simple as it is. I'm going to say it as is. It's not meant to be criticism in a negative way, but rather in a positive, constructive way. You know, once again, China needs to stop being too nice. Why? Because its approach is interpreted as weakness in some quarters around the world. And they're going to have to sort of put the dots on the letter, as we say, because all of a sudden there were talks about moving the EVs, electric vehicles to Mexico and so forth. All of a sudden now there is a change to all that. So why will China go ahead with the investments only to find out that the Mexicans will stab them in the back? And that's exactly what happened. So, and once again, this is why I am very concerned as to what lies ahead moving forward. It is my belief that China's strategy will be well served, in my opinion, will be well served by using Asian nations. That is my opinion, because Asia is so big and a much bigger market. So if China can forego some other countries elsewhere, for Africa it has good ties. Which, speaking of Africa, I decided to wait till I go back home and I'm gonna do a special live stream for you regarding Africa. There is something that just happened and it's not reported, it's stayed quiet about, and I'm gonna share it with you when I get back. Suffice it to say, in my opinion, that it behooves China to think in terms of expanding the relationships economically, diplomatically, of course, which they have diplomatic relations with other countries, and technologically. Because you all know now, seeing too many events that just happened recently. One is what took place in Indonesia. You know, don't think that those demonstrations just happen out of the blue. And second is Nepal. What they do, what they both have in common. They all entered into some economic ventures with China. That is where the difference. And this is why I'm saying for China, it'll make more sense to focus on, focus on Vietnam, focus on Cambodia, Laos, all those countries, even Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, all of those. Philippines, I will leave it alone because Philippines is a mess. And what's going on with Philippines is just, it's a lost case. There are those who are saying, are we on the verge of seeing another Ukrainian Philippines? I won't be surprised. I really won't. So I hope not, because Filipino people deserve a good economic conditions like every other citizen of another country. But what they're doing, it's unfortunate. So this is where the problem that I foresee. So it behooves China to think in terms of, you know what, I'm going to just focus on the Asia because that's where the global economy is anyway. I mean, I'm going to cross over to the other side because I'm going all the way out. And I need to be in this part here because I have to head out back to the train station soon. I did this just for you guys. Come over here all the way, do the live. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I couldn't do it, and I can. So that's their laws. They respect that. So as I said, for Asia is where the global economy is. That's it's a fait accompli, and this is why you're seeing what the U.S. is doing as far as reactionary measures. For example, go into Mexico and pressure in Mexico. And it becomes not only US, it becomes on Mexico for caving into America's pressures. So it's beyond me. It's beyond me. But again, China will have to think very, very carefully moving forward. There are enough countries in Asia that it can deal with economically, technologically, and so forth. And it will be a better way of handling the changes on the global stage. That's the only way I see it moving forward. There will be an upcoming, I think, some meeting between the US and China to negotiate the trade tariffs. Of course, the American consumers. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, the American consumers are starting to feel the pinch, and of course, the government's not going to disclose that one. So, I asked someone here, even in China, how are the conditions are? Well, the economy is not bad. However, this person whom I trust mentioned to me that one of the issues that they are now has to do with unemployment or employment for the young generations. So, but it's not to the point that, like some have said, oh, the Chinese economy is going to collapse. No, it's far from it. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. So this is where I see, let me put my reading glasses to see if you have a question, and I will, and thank you, by the way. I always want to say thank you for keeping the conversation civil in the chat box. I'm truly so proud of our community, very grateful. I've been talking to some people about you, literally here, about our community. A lot of people watch. I was even surprised to find out that some Chinese are watching the channel. So that's the way I see why we have this inquisitive community that we have to protect, and we have to grow also, because I would like to reach as many people around the world for them to understand the truth as it is. So that's how I see it. So, all right. Samir Karim, hello, doctor, from Iraq. Good to see you, Samir. And I wonder what's going to be happening with Iraq, given the changes that took place. The Prime Minister, Mr. Soudani, is not living up to the task, in my opinion. So, they better put the welfare of the Iraqi people. And by the way, Mr. Soudani needs to convince the Americans to kind of return the money in the bank in New York for the Iraqi oil. Okay, he'll move. Yeah, she's upset. She's driving. They don't like when people double park, which is, yeah, this is to me what the Prime Minister needs to do, because the welfare of the Iraqi people comes first. And second, why isn't he forcing the Americans to leave, like what Niger did? That's one of the whole reason for why I see Mr. Soudani being weak. So, but good to see you, Samir. Let me see who else is here. Okay, I'm not seeing any question here. I'm gonna go back to the old section of town, and I might grab me something to eat there. I want to try something local from here. I'm gonna ask first. Unfortunately, I will be happy to show you that. It's just I can't do it with doing live here. And second, my Alipay is on a phone, and I can't do it, so I have to sign off by the time I'll. Hello. How are you? Yes. Do you want to show you? Do you want me to show you on the camera? Say hi. No, he doesn't want to. All right, thank you. Yeah, not people. People are not comfortable with that. They just don't feel like it. Simple as that. It's not about fear. It's not about, no. It's just, they don't feel like it. So, as I said, I'm going to be returning this afternoon, early evening. I will do one more live stream for you from Shanghai, and then I'll head back to the United States. So I will then I'll get on with the live stream as soon as I just get over jet lag by one day. And so let me cross. So this is you see some high-end cars over here. Also, let me switch this one. Yeah, that was like a high-end Porsche. Hello. Yeah. So anyway, I don't have anything to add to this, and if you guys don't have questions, I'm gonna sign off. Let me just see if there are questions here. Otherwise, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you for joining me here. Sorry, couldn't do the museum, but again, the regulations, the laws, and so forth, and we'll respect all that. So please make sure to hit the like button and share the video with others. I would greatly appreciate it. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, bye-bye.